Om Maganati Manandasyang Gana Gana Sanaka Chaksurun Miritam Yanatashmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Yanabhutare Sayam Rupakaramayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Zaganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Larita Shivishakhan Stam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandha Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhikanta Namostute Jayatam Sarito Pango Mamadir Matergati Matsavashapadam Boja Radha Madana Modam Sriman Rasarasaram Vamsi Pada Karsan Benashanurbago Gopinata Sri Saram Divyad Brindaranya Kapadrumada Srimad Radnagara Shima Sanisto Sri Sri Radha Shiragovindadar Prashadavi Seva Manushmanami Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taya Chajikati Taya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Mangalang Bhagavan Vishnu Magaram Guru Rajucha Mangalam Panidikaksho Mangaraya Tarohiri Om Narayanaya Vidmahi Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishnu Prachodhyate Om Mahadevi Vidmahi Vishnu Padita Dhimahi Tano Lakshmi Prachodhyate Mahalakshmi Namastubhyam Sare Sare Hari Priya Namastubhyam Namastubhyam Dhyarire Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radha Vindavaneshwari Vishavana Sute Devi Pranamani Hari Priya Nama Om Vishnu Panaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesa Sunnivari Praskata Desadhani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare Hare I'm going to tilt the back of my chair upright here. I almost tipped over there on that last little maneuver. Good morning, Brent. Good morning, Gene. Good morning, Rob, on Zoom as well. It's Motivational Monday. We're moving to a new verse here. It's still among the prayers of Queen Kunti. This one has to do with all the various instances in which Krishna tendered protection to his pure, unalloyed devotees. Krishna offers everybody a measure of protection, just like the father has a natural inclination to protect his children. But the father will go the extra mile for those children who are completely surrendered to the father, who will do anything the father wants. Sometimes the child is so much in tune with the father that the child will anticipate what the father wants. The child will not even wait until the father asks them what to do, but anticipating what the father's desires are, the child will go ahead and accomplish them. So that by the time the father asks, the child will say, it's already been done. So how can a father, although he's equally disposed to all of his kids, how could he not be even more? It's not that he's not favorably disposed to anyone. Krishna is willing to give every living being the benefit of the doubt because he loves you with a father's love. But at the same time, how could the father not be especially considerate of those who are on the same page as the father, who are completely in harmony with the father? So Kunti gives a list of instances in which Krishna went to extraordinary lengths to protect the Pandavas. There were many devotees, there were many religious people on the planet at the time Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago. In fact, even the demons, even the bad guys, had a lot of good religious qualities. They did sacrifices, they gave in charity. The kingdoms, what they administered, there's no hunger, there's no poverty. Everybody was well cared for. So the standard of morality of the previous age, 5,000 years ago, was just across the board much higher than it is today. But what Krishna dislikes is hypocrisy. He doesn't like those who do public religious performances, public charity work, public welfare work, just for their own aggrandizement, just to draw attention for themselves. Krishna wants you to be transparent. He doesn't ask that you be perfect, but he does ask that you be transparent. And so when it was incumbent upon Krishna to go either for or against. They are all members of the same dynasty. They're all descendants of Kuru. Therefore, they are all always called Kauravas. But a disparity began to emerge as Duryodhana persecuted more and more and more and more his cousin brothers, the Pandavas. They became known in two separate categories as the Kauravas. The name Kauravas initially represented both the Pandavas and the Kauravas, Duryodhana's side as well as Yudhishthira's side. But as Duryodhana got more and more aggressive and more criminal, the name Kauravas became more and more associated with the bad guys. So, and when the armies are assembled at the place in Kurukshetra where the war was to take place, anytime you hear the Kauravas referred to, it's usually the bad guys, the aggressors. And then the good guys are the Pandavas. Now, the Pandavas are distinguished. The Pandavas stand out from the overall dynasty of the Kauravas, of which in one sense they're a part, because they are far more surrendered to Krishna and to Krishna's will than the others. And the others want to take things into their own hands, force outcomes, in fact, to offend in many different ways and on many different levels the devotees of Lord Krishna. And so here's a list of the offenses. Some of them are outright attempts at murder. Some of them are attempts to humiliate or to downgrade the Pandavas in public. Queen Kunti says to Krishna, and she refers to him as Bhakta Vatsala. Bhakta Vatsala. Vatsala means very dear. Vatsala means dear. Your wife is dear to you. Your children are dear to you. So what is most dear to Krishna are the bhaktas, Bhakta Vatsala. There are no category of living beings who are more dear to Krishna than those who are devoted to him. More dear to Krishna than the kings, more dear to Krishna than the yogis, more dear to Krishna than the sages, more dear to Krishna than the mental speculators. There are none more dear to Krishna than the devotees, and the devotees may be highborn and be lowborn. They may be male, they may be female. This love of Krishna for the bhaktas is totally democratic. It is non-discriminatory. There are no qualifications for being dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead other than that you be his devotee. That you may have other qualifications, and those are fine and dandy. But if you don't have the qualification of bhakti, uninterrupted and unmotivated devotion to the Lord, if you're not eager to engage yourselves in the service of the Lord, if you have more of a proclivity to do yoga, if you have more of a proclivity to keep your nose stuck in the books, you have more of a proclivity to do charity so that people will know you as a great philanthropic person, if your motivations are more self-centered than they are God-centered, then you're not going to come into the category of Bhakta-vasa, or those who are particularly dear to the Lord. And so when Duryodhana and his company, who are not Bhakta-vasa, they did not prioritize devotional service to Krishna to the level that the Pandavas did. For instance, Yudhishthira was cheated out of his kingdom in a crooked game of dice. Duryodhana went to the point of cheating Yudhishthira out of his rightful kingdom in order that Duryodhana could usurp the rightful position of Yudhishthira. Now, is that God-centered or is that self-centered, I ask you? Should be obvious. Now, because Yudhishthira was God-centered, he didn't protest. He had been dealt with unfairly. He had been betrayed. But he did not answer in kind. He saw the remote cause. He didn't see the immediate cause. He'd been sent to exile for 13 years to live in the forest. So he didn't identify Duryodhana as the cause of his exile. Of course, Duryodhana was the immediate cause, but Yudhishthira saw beyond the immediate cause to the remote cause, that this is something that Krishna wanted, and he was only using Duryodhana as an instrument. For some reason or other, Krishna wanted Yudhishthira not to become the king at that point of time. He wanted him to spend time in the forest, to have many adventures, to sit in the ashrams of the sages and steep himself in the ancient histories of his lineage and his line, get inspiration from the stories of great saints and sages, and especially of other devotees of the Lord like Prahlad Maharaj, the four Kumars, Dhruva Maharaj, King Prithu, and so many others. And Yudhishthira had faith. He didn't understand exactly why he was cheated of the kingdom by the dice game, but he knew that God's always in control, that there's nothing outside of God's control at any point in time. There's no event which is not of which God is not aware of, which there's nothing that happens that takes God or Krishna by surprise. And so, whereas on the one hand, Duryodhana went through all these criminal conspiracies in order to illegally put himself on the throne, and Yudhishthira put up with that. He tolerated all that. He bore all that, not identifying Duryodhana as the ultimate cause, but seeing that Krishna sometimes uses even your enemies to get you to where you want to be. We talked last night about detours. Certainly Yudhishthira was on the throne. He was ruling. He was popular. He was doing everything that a king should do. And yet he was leveraged out of that position unfairly, betrayed. So that could easily be categorized as a detour, I think. There are 13 years in which the Pandavas were disenfranchised, deposed, and had to live in the forest while the egotistical conspirators ruled their very own kingdom. But sometimes Krishna uses the wrong to get us to the right. And this is a classic example of that. Those 13 years in exile was a divine detour for Yudhishthira, so that when they came back, they were totally, if they had been empowered and supported by Krishna before they went into exile, then they were especially empowered. They were insurmountable. They were unconquerable with Krishna as the chariot driver of Arjuna when they came back from exile and they faced the Kaurava armies opposite them on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. These are the prayers of Queen Kunti. The battle is over now. Kauravas are all killed. Their enemies are wiped off the face of the earth. Kunti's recalling, recounting all the different, she's going back into the archives, listing all the times and instances in which Krishna protected the fully surrendered 5 Pandava brothers, all of whom were sons of Kunti herself. Vishan, Mahagni, poison, Agni, fire, Purushada, Darshana. Through poisoning, even when they were children, Duryodhana had a bitter enmity towards Bhima, who was, actually, to be honest, Bhima was a little bit of a bully when he was young. He would sometimes take advantage of the less strength of his cousins to push them around. But Duryodhana went to an extreme. He thought he'd solve the problem of Bhima's bullying by killing him. So he made him a cake. I don't know if it's his birthday or not, but Duryodhana said, Bhima, we made you a nice cake. It's all for you. We know how you like to eat, so we don't want a piece of it. It's not that you cut a piece and you eat a piece and then you distribute the other pieces. You eat the whole cake. And it was full of enough poison to kill 10,000 elephants. Bhima ate the cake. And he went to sleep on the bank of the Yamuna. And then, on top of poisoning him, they wanted to drown him. So Duryodhana and his cousin, then they threw Bhima into the river. And the interesting thing was, as Bhima sunk through the waters towards the bottom of the river, there were thousands of snakes living in that section of the river, poisonous water snakes like moccasins we have in the south here. And they were angry that this body was floating amongst them and disturbing whatever it was they were doing. So they began biting him on all sides. So what happened was the poison of the cake and the poison that was inside, and then the poison that was coming from outside, worked a sort of alchemical process, so that now Bhima was, instead of dying from the poison, which could have killed 10,000 elephants, he assumed this the strength of 10,000 elephants. So again, it's an example of a wrong leading to a right. No matter what Duryodhana tried to do throughout all these various persecutions, it just ended up making the Pandavas stronger, because the strong Pandavas passed the test. They didn't react to the immediate cause, but they saw the hand of the remote cause, that Krishna was working over the long run. And those who take the high road, who bite their tongues, who opt for peace rather than immediate confrontation, are the ones that are Bhakta Vatsala. Those are the ones that are especially dear to Lord Krishna. So the result of administering poison and attempting to kill Bhima was that he got the strength of 10,000 elephants. So you could easily say that that plan backfired on Duryodhana. Then Mahagni, later on, as you know, Duryodhana said to the Pandavas, I think you guys need a vacation. I know just the place. He sent them off to a house, specially built vacation house in some beautiful area of the kingdom. What he didn't tell the Pandavas was that the house was built of a highly flammable material, and that while the Pandavas were sleeping their first or second or third night in the house, he let them spend a few nights in the house until they let their guard down, because they were naturally suspicious of gifts from Duryodhana, rightfully so. So I think it was on the fifth night, 5 Pandavas, 5 nights, that Duryodhana hired someone then to go and to set fire to the house. And it burned very quickly. It burned so quickly that nobody could have escaped. However, the Pandavas had been warned by Vidura that there might be some plot afoot in connection with this house. And so they had used those first initial nights to make a tunnel underneath the house, and escape tunnel. So when the house caught fire, they were able to escape. And actually, there were 5 bodies left in the ashes, because there were 5 conspirators who somehow other than themselves got knocked unconscious by Bhima, and then they were burned in the very fire they started. So that was good. The Pandavas went incognito for a while, and they showed up at the Swayamvar of Draupadi. So as a result of the attempt to burn the Pandavas in the house of Lak, Arjuna got Draupadi as his wife. Again, a wrong led to a right. And not only was Duryodhana unsuccessful in the matter of killing the Pandavas, but he always had a crush on Draupadi. He had a special soft spot for Draupadi. So not only was he frustrated to kill the Pandavas, but the Pandavas survived the fire, and Arjuna married, captured, or, at the Swayamvar, Draupadi as his wife, for whom Duryodhana had a special affection. So it was almost like Krishna's like rubbing it in, almost like rubbing it in even more. Every time Duryodhana tries to take the Pandavas out, they come back stronger, more opulent, more favored, more blessed. Asat sabaya, vanovasa krita. Then that same Draupadi, Duryodhana was so frustrated and angry that he had missed Draupadi, that Draupadi had been stolen from him in his mind by Arjuna. And later on, after the dice game, he tried to insult Draupadi by getting his brother Dusashana to take off all of her clothes so that she would appear naked before the assembly of soldiers. Of course, that would have been almost a death sentence, because had any lady, respectable lady, been forced to appear naked in public, she probably would not have been able to maintain her life. Nowadays, it's common for all kinds of ladies to go half-dressed in public places where the gazes of tens of thousands of men fall upon them. There was even a scandal, I think, a few years ago during the halftime ceremony of the Super Bowl. One of the most famous female vocalists in the world had a full breast pop out or something right in the middle of halftime at the Super Bowl. And she wasn't ashamed of it at all. And no one particularly faulted her. It was just a source of a lot of facetious comments on the part of television personalities. But had that happened to a respectable lady, first of all, no respectable lady would be standing in public TV at halftime at the Super Bowl. She would be reserved for her husband and her family members, not act in such a way that she would be available to give the impression that she's available to anyone and everyone. So that would have been practically a death sentence had Dushasana succeeded in stripping Draupadi of all of her clothes. But Krishna, on the other side, invisible to everyone except for Draupadi, began doling out more and more length of sari. So however much sari Dushasana pulled off, Krishna would supply twice as much invisibly on the other side. Finally, Dushasana couldn't take it anymore, and he just collapsed. So Draupadi was saved. The Pandavas' honor was saved. Again, Krishna stepped in at the brink of disaster. Mrde, mrde. Mrde, mrde means again and again and again and again and again. Just as Duryodhana was relentless in his efforts to nullify, to negate, to blot out the Pandavas, Krishna was equally relentless in foiling and frustrating Duryodhana. Comes to mind Prahlad. Same thing happened between Prahlad and Hiranyakashipu. How many different times did Hiranyakashipu try to kill his son, take him out, boil him in oil, throw him over a cliff, put him in a pit of snakes, again, also giving him poison, throwing him off of a cliff. And every time Hiranyakashipu was frustrated. The harder he tried, the more Prahlad bounced back with more strength and more vigor and more faith. And finally, he says, where do you get your power from? I am so powerful, Hiranyakashipu said to his son, that if I simply look askance at the demigods, they tremble in fear. I have simply to look at them in a displeasurable way, and they are trembling, they're undone. And yet you look me in the eye, you talk back to me, you go tit for tat. In spite of the fact that I've tried to kill you in so many ways, you haven't backed down, you haven't recanted. I'm beginning to think that you're immortal, that you're unkillable. From a physical, natural point of view, you're a 5-year-old boy, you have no defenses, you have no resource. But what Hiranyakashipu is starting to intimate is that Prahlad is Bhakta Vatsala. He is dear to the Lord. And for those who are Bhakta Vatsala, 100% engaged in the service of the Lord with loving devotional service, they are, no envious person can lay a finger on them. So Hiranyakashipu says, Ana Vrupedya Akushtid Bhayam Param. No matter what I do to you, no matter how I threaten you, no matter what tortures I subject to you, you're just cool and calm. Abhayam, you have no fear. You have no tension. You have no stress. You're relaxed in the midst of the most torturous situations. And I'm beginning to suspect that you are more powerful than me. Mritu bhavate me param. I'm beginning to think that in spite of all my efforts to kill you, which have been unsuccessful, now it's occurring to me that I can't kill you. That with all my material power and influence, up to the point of controlling the entire universe, it's not enough, because your protector creates millions and millions and millions of universe. And to him, you are Bhakta Vatsala. In fact, when the demigods had gone to Vishnu and complained about Hiranyakashipu and his atrocities and asked, when are you going to kill this demon? He's a case of meningitis in the head of the universe. So when are you going to take him out? You promised, Paritanaya sadhanam vinasya chadushkatam. You promised to protect your devotees and annihilate the miscreants. So we're your devotees. And so many other devotees have been persecuted. So why haven't you come already? And Krishna says, you're devotees, yeah, but you're not pure devotees. You're not the devotees who are above and beyond. I protect you, I maintain you, I do all the things that a loving father does for his children. But I'm only gonna come out of the spiritual world. I'm only gonna descend personally when my pure devotee, my Bhakta Vatsala, gets tortured. Navarya Prashanta, that Prahlad, you're devotees and he's devotees, but he's such a devotee that he has a special place in my heart. He doesn't look at all that he's tolerated. Look at all that he's endured for my sake. Could you have done that? Could you have taken being boiled in oil and administered poison and thrown off a cliff and been in a pit of sand without a word of protest? Could you have undergone all that without saying once, why, Krishna? Why me? It's unfair. Only Prahlad is of such a caliber of a devotee that he looks beyond the immediate cause. Unlike you, Prahlad doesn't see Hiranyakashipu throwing him in oil, putting him under the feet of an elephant, throwing him in a pit of corpse. He doesn't see the immediate cause as his father. He sees the remote cause. That Krishna is arranging, orchestrating, choreographing all of this for a reason. And hey, we're talking about Prahlad. We're glorifying Prahlad as a Bhakta Vatsala. Thousands of years, maybe hundreds, I don't know what the time frame is, could be hundreds of thousands of years after the fact. Here in Spanish Fort Utah, we're talking about Prahlad as a Bhakta Vatsala. There's Bhaktas, and then there's Bhakta Vatsala. So everybody who claims to be a Bhakta should pray to the Lord, let me not just be a superficial, pretentious Bhakta. Let me not be simply a card-carrying Bhakta, but let me follow in the footsteps of such truly surrendered souls as Prahlad Maharaj. Let me advance every day towards unalloyed devotional service. There's devotional service, just like there's metal. But most metals are alloyed. They're mixed with other lower class metals to make what they are. Very rarely do you find unalloyed metals, metals which have no other taint or contaminants in them. But what we want to do as bhaktas is elevate from bhakta to bhakta vatsala. Tarko pratishtam sutyo vinaya nashori shirmatam dharmasya tatvam vinam mahajena yenagatasapata. We learn the path of bhakti from 12 great mahajans, 12 great exemplaries, 12 great Bhakta Vatsas, Shayambhu Narashtata, Komera Kodam, Shambhu, Pradada Janaka Bisho, Bala Vyasaki Vadu. Shayambhu Narashtata, Brahma is a Bhakta Vatsal. Narada Muni is a Bhakta Vatsal. Shayambhu Narashtata, Komaram, the 4 Kamaras are Bhakta Vatsals. Kapila is an authority in devotional service. Lord Shiva is a Bhakta Vatsal, very dear to Lord Krishna. Prahlad, Janaka, the father of Sita, Prahlad Janaka, Bali Maharaj, who took the 3rd step from Trivikrama, and then Vyasaki, Sukadeva Goswami, and then finally Yamaraj. These are the 12 Mahajans, and they illuminate the path towards pure devotional service to the Supreme Personality of God. So the Lord asks his petitioners, the demigods headed up by Lord Brahma, which one amongst you could have endured all the tortures that Hiranyakashipu administered without a single protest? Why? Me. It's unfair. None of you. So that's why I have not come to date. But one pure devotee like Prahlad is a game changer. It says, yeah, Prahlad, he's peaceful, he has no enemies, he's completely fixed in absolute trust and absolute faith that whatever happens, it's for his own good. He doesn't utter a word of protest. So when his father begins to harass my Bhakta Vatsal Prahlad, then I'm going to kill him. Danishe P. Varorjitam. In spite of the benedictions of Lord Brahma, I may follow the conditions that Lord Brahma gave. I may find a loophole
in the boons that Brahma gave, or I may not. I may go the extra mile and save Lord Brahma's face, keep him from being embarrassed, or I may not. That's not what most concerns me. Brahma is not my concern. He shouldn't have given this benediction in the first place. He was out of line. So to protect Brahma's face, reputation, I'll do it if I can, but that's not going to be my first concern. My first concern is I'm going to rush helter-skelter, pell-mell to the rescue of Prahlad Maharaj at the critical moment. There was a story that Muslim King Akbar had asked one of his ministers. The minister, he asked one of his men, why, we worship God. We see God as everywhere present. God can cause people to have heart attacks. He can cause your enemies to have heart attacks. He can have the earth open up. He can have the Red Sea drown your enemies. He's in charge of all that there is. And so there's many ways that God has to save his devotees through his indirect energies and potencies. But why you Hindus have so many stories of God coming himself? What's the need? God doesn't need to come himself. And the minister, the Hindu minister, devotee minister, he didn't answer the question directly. But a few days later, Akbar was walking along the Yamuna River with some of his bodyguard members, his generals, athletic, good runners, swimmers, good fighters. They trained every day in the martial arts. Akbar also had his little 3-year-old boy with him. And the little boy was playing here and there, and he slipped on the canal and he fell into the river. Now, logically speaking, if Akbar had a cool head, which he was famous for being cool and calm and collected, not losing it in times of crisis. Now, he could have turned to any one of his bodyguards, his generals. They were fitter, they were younger, they were more athletic. They could have jumped in and easily rescued the child. But when his loved one, his dear one, his most dear one was in danger, he wasn't cool. He wasn't calm anymore. He jumped in himself. He lost perspective because of love. And he jumped in himself and he saved the boy. And the minister said, you see, there's the answer. That boy is so dear to you that you're not going to trust anybody else with their salvation. You're not going to deal with him. You're not going to rescue him impersonally. You're going to do it personally. And that's because you're controlled by love. Your normal cool and calm is enveloped and eclipsed by love. Love trumps dispassion when it comes to those who are near and dear for you. So Murde Made Neka Maharashtatudoni Ashatash Chashma Hare Bibhisana. So Kunti says, you saved us from poison, you saved us from fire, you saved Draupadi from being embarrassed in the assembly of the Caru dynasty. And you also saved us in the actual Kurukshetra war, when big lethal generals like Bhisma, Dronacharya, Ashwatthama, Duryodhana himself, Kripacharya, and others were trying to kill my sons. There were many soldiers and kings on the side of the Pandavas, but every one of the Kauravas knew that if they could take out even 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of the Pandavas, that would do more towards helping them win the war than killing all the other soldiers and kings. So the 5 million or so soldiers on the Kaurava side were more keyed on killing the 5 Pandavas than any others. And yet the 5 Pandavas crossed over the vast, dangerous ocean of the Kurukshetra war. As compared to an ocean, and you're swimming without a life vest, without a lifeboat, without any protection. You're swimming across this ocean. And in this ocean, there are sharks, there are piranhas, there are barracudas, there are men of war. And you're swimming there without a boat, without a life vest. So what are your chances of getting to the other side? So when every single member of the Kaurava army, including Bhisma, Karna, Dronacharya, were gunning for the Pandavas and Arjuna in particular, what were their chances of getting safely from one side of the ocean to the other side? In a natural point of view, zero, less than zero. But they were the Bhakta Vatsalas of a supernatural God. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yata Partha Yata Sriyavijayasdhuvinyatirmadam. After, just before the battle was about to be engaged in, the clairvoyant Sanjaya, who could see the ultimate outcome of the battle, that even though the Pandavas were outnumbered and outmanned, even though in the natural they had zero chance of surviving the battle, Sanjaya mentioned the one game changer, that Krishna was present driving the chariot of Arjuna. And because Krishna was present on the Pandava side, Yatreshvara, he's the master of mystic yogi powers, and wherever there's Krishna, as well as his devotee, his Bhakta Vatsala, Dhanurdhara, the bow-wielding Arjuna, there will be Vijaya, Sri, there will be victory, opulence, morality. That was my opinion. So Sanjaya predicts that against all odds, the Pandavas will triumph and defeat their enemies and survive the dangerous ocean of the Kurukshetra war. So that brings us now up to date. Kunti is giving these prayers upon the departure of Krishna to Dwarka, recounting the list of all the different cliffhangers that Krishna saved them from. But the one that's most recent in her mind, the most recent instance in that list of atrocities, just happened. It just happened like literally hours or days ago. In an effort to eliminate all the heirs of the Pandavas from the face of the earth, and feeling bitterness and resentment at having lost his own father, Dronacharya, by what he considered unfair means during the war, Dronacharya's son, Ashwatthama, released the Brahmastra weapon. This is the ultimate nuclear weapon. Ashwatthama knew how to release it, but he didn't really know how to control it. So he put it out there. That's a very dangerous weapon to be put out there. He aimed it at the child within the womb of Arjuna's daughter-in-law. Uttara had been married to Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu was killed, but she was already pregnant with Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit was the only one, his brothers having been killed again by Ashwatthama, Kritavarma, Kripacharya on the last night of the battle. Parikshit was the only one who would carry on the Pandava line. He would be the only surviving male in the next generation. And Ashwatthama sent this nuclear weapon. In those days, the nuclear weapons weren't crude like they are today. Hiroshima and Nagasaki each bomb took out 100,000 men, women, children, devastated, flattened whole cities. In those days, this very powerful nuclear weapon could be directed in such a way that it would pick out one single person, even amongst a crowd of people. Ashwatthama directed this nuclear weapon, this Brahmastra, to the small embryo within the womb of his mother, Parikshit. And the mother went running to Lord Krishna. Devi Deva Jagatpate. Devi Deva Jagatpate. You are the Lord of Lords, the God of all gods. No one can protect us up to the level that you can, Lord Krishna. Uttara said, I don't care if the Brahmastra kills me, but can you save my child? Can you protect him from the blazing heat of the Brahmastra? She expressed the same as the daughter-in-law of Arjuna. She expressed the same unqualified level of dependence on the protection of the Lord as the rest of the Pandavas did. And when one petitions the Lord from a place of love, from a place of complete devotion and selflessness, the Lord has never in the history of the universe ever refused such a request. For one who is completely dependent upon the Lord especially, read my lips, especially looks after that person. Just like a father. Isn't it a fact that the father is especially attentive to the smallest of his children because of being the smallest and the youngest? What does that mean? That child is most completely dependent upon the protection of the father. So what father would withhold his protection from his youngest child who comes running to him asking for him? Krishna never withholds his protection from his Bhakta Vatsalas, as he protected Prahlad from the tortures of his father, as he protected the uncles and grandfather of Parikshit in the dangerous battle of Kurukshetra, as he protected Bhima from the poisoned cake, as he protected Draupadi from being humiliated in the assembly. Similarly and consistently, Krishna answers the prayer of Uttara and protects her son within her womb. As a result of which, Parikshit saw Krishna enter into the womb and cover him like with a blanket, inside of which the heat of the Brahmastra was not able to penetrate. Sometimes when seeking shelter of the Lord, petitioners who are in trouble, who are in danger, they say, give me shelter at your lotus feet. Give me shelter at your lotus feet. Of course, Krishna is described as lotus hand, lotus feet, lotus eye, because when he descends in this world, he doesn't do so in a material body. He comes in his self-same spiritual body, which is unaffected by material conditions. So in that sense, the lotus example is used to refer to all the various parts of his body. The lotus grows within water, and yet it never gets wet. You can splash it and it's bone dry shortly thereafter. So it can be said of the water, the lotus, it's in the water, but not of the water. So the Lord came into the material world, but he did not do so in a material body. So in that sense, he's called lotus. But there's another reason why, particularly when seeking protection from the Lord, the devotees refer to him as lotus feet. They desire to take shelter as lotus feet. The lotus is open up during the day. It's open up during the day. But it closes. It closes when the sun goes down. Okay? So when that lotus closes, if that lotus were to close during the heat of the day, what would happen to anybody who had taken shelter inside that lotus? It would be cool. It would be comfortable. It would be air conditioned. However hard the sun would beat on the outside petals of the lotus is insulated to the point where if you are inside that lotus, nothing could touch you. No weapon, no fire, no water. The lotus itself is in the water, just like you see the lake behind me. And in the far end of the lake, you see the lotus petals there. Or they close around something. Whatever it is that they enclose, whatever it is that they're protecting is safe. Heat, nor weapon, nor fire, nor water, nor wind can protect that which is enfolded within the leaves, the petals of the lotus flower. And so, samshita ye para plava pavam mahat punyam yasho mare babam burir batsa param 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 yadvipadam dedesham. This verse describes in the 10th canto how this material world is full of danger at every step. Danger at every step. We just got an email a couple of days ago. Gopal Krishna Maharaj is in, I don't know where he is, Delhi, gets up as he does every morning. He's a wonderful example of performing Mangal Arti as a pujari. Of course, he's quite elderly. So he's just getting ready, doing the same thing he's done hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of times before, showering, getting ready and putting on tilak, and he falls. I don't have the details, but he falls. It wasn't a serious fall. But, you know, the older you get, the more you realize, don't take even a single step for granted. You never know. You know, you take one step just like you take thousands of steps before, and by God's arrangement and by the precarious nature of the material, your foot slips out and down you go. You fracture an elbow, you hit the back of your head. It could be the last step you ever take. This material world, padam padam yadvipadam, it is full of danger at every step. And so the only shelter are the lotus feet, padam, padam, padam. The supreme, secure, invulnerable place of shelter, place of protection, are none other than the lotus feet of the Lord. Padam, padam. It was the lotus feet of the Lord that kept Bhishma safe from the poison, that kept Draupadi safe from being disrobed, that kept Arjuna immune from the arrows of his enemy throughout the entirety of the battle of Kurukshetra, and it also kept Maharaj Parikshit free from the most deadly weapon in creation, the Brahmastra. And it's not surprising that Krishna is able to counteract the Brahmastra, because the Brahmastra comes from Krishna's own energy. It comes from the Brahma Jyoti. The Brahma Jyoti is subordinate to and under the control of Krishna. So when Ashwatthama employed the Brahmastra, the weapon made of the Brahma Jyoti, it was not a big deal for Krishna to counteract it. But nobody else can do that. Brahma can't do it. Shiva can't do it. Indra can't do it. Vayu can't do it. Chandra can't do it. Sages can't do it. Yogis can't. There's only one person who can counteract the ultimate weapon, the Brahmastra, and that's Krishna, because Brahman, or the Brahma Jyoti, is subordinate to him and under his control. And so this latest atrocity on Kunti's long, lengthy list, the one which is most recent in her mind, she recites at the end. And once again, she says that throughout, what is the word she uses? Mride, over and over. Krishna protected us in the past. He's protecting us just recently as a few hours ago. And I know that he will not leave us in the lurch in the future. He's gotten us this far, and he will not abandon. He's not the kind of person who will leave what he starts. What he starts, he will finish. So thank you, Lord, that we're on the path, the devotional path. We may not be at the point of Bhakta Vatsala yet, but we're under the shelter of the spiritual master. And if we follow his instructions and keep putting one foot in front of another and moving forward and making steady progress in serving the Lord without motivation, without interruption, then we will come to that position where the Lord will move heaven and earth to protect his devotees. For those who are Bhakta Vatsala, for whom the Lord is especially affectionate, no one or nothing, not hurricanes or earthquakes or tidal waves or demons, can lay even a finger, can disturb even a hair on the head of such devotees as Arjuna, Parikshit, and as well as Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj, because they are of the category Bhakta Vatsala. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, we've got John Malik. John Malik is always there. He says materialistic life is full of anxieties and fear. He also gives us a hearty Haribol. So thanks to you, John. Priya Krishna Das. Very nice class, Prabhuji. Thank you for sharing. Please accept my most humble obeisance. All glories to Prabhupada from New York. Priya Krishna Das from New York. Thank you. Bye, Bobby from Spanish Fork, Utah. My better half. Manasa Ganga, Northern California, I believe. Jean, also Salt Lake City. And Brent from Orem, Utah. Thank you all for being on our sidebar here. You're always welcome to give as extensive comments as you like. And Rob, a word for us today or two? I know Kel's sick, so I don't know if you're able to speak or not.
Yeah, he's here with me.
Oh, wait a minute. I think, did I turn the sound down? Let me check this here. Let me see if I, oh yeah, okay. Sound down, let me check this here. Okay, now I can hear you. Oh
Hare
yeah.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Check this here. Okay.
I was able to get some this morning, Prabhuji.
Check this here. Okay.
I was able to get some this morning.
How do I stop this loop? Why does this loop happen? How do I stop this loop? This is crazy. Why does this loop happen?
How do I stop this?
What can I
This is
do?
Crazy. Why does this loop happen?
There must be audio coming through from Facebook or something. There must be audio coming
Oh,
through
from Facebook. Okay, let me, no, I'm turning down the
There
audio.
must be audio coming
Oh,
through.
from Facebook. Okay, let me, no, I'm turning down the
There
audio.
must be audio coming
Oh,
through.
okay, this is ridiculous. Just text it to me. Just text it to me. I'll think about
Hare
it.
Krishna.
Thank you, everybody.
Just text it to
Hare
me.
Krishna.
Just text it to me. I'll think about
Hare
Hare
it.
Krishna.
Thank you, everybody. Just